Chapter 6, quick notes, gold notes, whatever you want to call them. Remember, this wraps up the chapter in one great quick sheet, and it really is helpful when you're working on your test and then later when you study for your exams. So remember in 6.1 we learned about ratios, and you must use the same units, okay? You have to change them if needed to the same units. You're going to simplify, no decimals allowed, reduce it to lowest terms. And then you're going to take off the units, okay? No units on that answer. So reduce and no decimals, take the units off. When ratios are used for measures, add an x behind each number in the ratio and use those terms in the appropriate equation. So let's say they tell you like you have angles of 2x, they tell you you have a ratio of angles in 2 to 3 to 4, something like that, you would throw an x on each of them and maybe put them in your picture, and then you would write the right equation like those angles all add up to 180, solve for x and plug it back in, okay? So look for that on like perimeter of a rectangle or perimeter of a triangle you could do, or angles of a triangle, something like that. So use the right equation for what information they give you. Okay, we also learned in 6.1 about a proportion, and the extremes are the first and the last, okay, and the means are the middle two. So when you find the geometric mean, it tells you to put an x in the mean positions and then your numbers in the other two positions and solve. Often I ask for you to do that in a simplified radical, so make sure you're comfortable with how to simplify your radical and you know what to do, or just turn it into a decimal depending on what the directions say, okay? So that was 6.1. Those are the important things to know in 6.1. From 6.2, we learned about scale, and the scale can have different units. You're going to divide by the smallest number. By the way, you set it up image over actual, okay? You're going to divide by the smallest number, which means you can have decimals, okay? And one number will always be 1. And you leave, and this is so important, you leave your units on the answer, right? You never want to go to a map and just see 1 to 50. You want to see like 1 inch equals 50 miles. So make sure you leave those units on that answer, okay? That was 6.2, talking about scale. Okay, 6.3, we talked about scale factor, okay? Now, the important thing with scale factor is it's also a ratio, okay? So it follows all those ratio rules from above. It needs to be the same units. It needs to be reduced to lowest terms. You don't leave a unit on it. No decimals allowed. Okay, so don't forget in 6.3, so we started with similar figures, right? The little symbol, just one little squiggle. And they have congruent angles. And what kind of sides? Proportional, okay? Remember, quiz question, test question, exam question, congruent angles, proportional sides. So the scale factor is a ratio of the side lengths, so it follows those ratio rules. And then we talked about that the side ratio or the scale factor, however you want to think about it, equals the perimeter ratio. We take the side ratio and we square it to get the area ratio. We take the side ratio and we cube it to get the volume ratio, okay? So you don't even have to know enough of the sides to find the perimeter, but you can use that ratio and find the new ratios, okay? All right, second page here. Let's talk about 6.4 and 6.5. Notice I joined them together because we kind of took them in pieces as we learned them, but there were 3 ways to prove triangles similar. The angle, you prove 2 sets of angles congruent. The side, where you prove all 3 sets of sides similar or in the same ratio. And then side, angle side, where we prove 1 set of angles congruent and 2 sets of sides proportional, okay? So always make sure on the side angle side that your angles that are, your sides that are proportional come from both sides of the angle. They can't be the side across from the angle, okay? We did a little bit in the margin on 6.6. The big idea here when you have parallel lines, okay, that side segments are proportional to side segments, so a part to a part is fine. But if you have parallel sides, they're proportional to the complete sides, okay? So if you think of that big picture like this, where these are broken into parallel, well, I can't draw a parallel side, can I? that this is going to be proportional to the complete side and this to its complete side, okay? So you have to do complete sides for your parallel ones, okay? But if it's a side segments, you can just do side segment to side segment, side segment to side segment. You can do parts, okay? And then we did 6.7, which was our dilations on our graphs. If k is smaller than 1, it's a reduction. If k is bigger than 1, it's an enlargement. Always make sure you just multiply your coordinates. You show me those new ordered pairs, okay? So k is the important thing. And don't forget, k is a scale factor, so it's still image over actual, okay? So that's chapter 6 in a really quick note. Make sure you have this filled out. Make sure it's handy when you're studying, and don't lose it before your exam at the end of the semester. Let me know if you have any questions.